This video is not meant to condone the consumption of any of the substances in this video and is purely meant for harm reduction purposes. Lysergic acid diethylamide, better known as LSD or Lucy to the psychedelic community, is one of the most popular and widely used psychedelics today. Albert Hofmann, a Swiss scientist, first synthesized the chemical in 1938 and was made illegal in 1966. But what exactly does LSD do to you? In this video I will break down each dose and their general effects. While experiences vary from person to person, I will attempt to give insight on what you might expect. 20 ug. This is what is considered a microdose and will only slightly affect you. You may be more creative, see things somewhat more vividly, and have a general increase in happiness throughout the day. This dose is not meant to physically inhibit you and is meant to be used to dip your toes in the waters of LSD. 100 ug. This is considered the perfect beginner's dose of acid. You will start to experience colorful visuals and patterns. The slight nausea during the commute will transition into a mixed feeling of euphoria and bliss. You begin to feel more inclined to laugh and smile. Most trips with this dose are positive experiences that do not destroy the ego. SEV, or close-eyed visuals, are subtle but still present. Thought loops become common at this dose, and this is when the thinking starts to begin. 200 ug. 200 ug is an exponentially higher dose than 100 ug. New effects are present, such as auditory distortion and tracers. By this point your pupils will have doubled in size, and the physical electricity that accompanies LSD becomes much more apparent. Ego death and dissolution of identity start to become more common on this dose. During my 250 ug trip, I found myself not knowing what the time on the clock meant, and slowly forgetting the concept of time. This is the last dose that most people would be comfortable being in public with, as your thoughts begin to race and communication becomes difficult. 300 ug. The physical feelings of this dose are far greater, as you might feel muscle tension, electromuscle stimulation, and chills. Your view will be encapsulated in complex geometry, shapes, and colors. The field of view becomes blurrier, and audio becomes so distorted that you can hear your own echo in your head. At higher doses I find it hard to walk normally, as my bones are so tense. Ego death is likely, but not certain. 300 micrograms is also the dose where the phenomenon of telepathy can happen if you are tripping with another person. This feeling of telepathy is an ability to communicate without words and connecting two people's consciousnesses. 500 ug. I skipped 400 ug because it is very similar to 300 ug. At this dose you will likely lose some connection with reality. Objects will morph into other objects, intense close-eyed visuals, and loss of perception of time. You will see many patterns such as spirals, waves, and mosaics. Your senses might merge, meaning you start to visually see sounds. This does makes movement uncomfortable, and many users report a heightened sense of awareness. Any sense of ego you previously had is gone, and self-identity is destroyed into pieces. 700 ug. This is an incredibly high dose that most people are not prepared to take. You will see visuals similar to Aztec, Mayan, and Hindu cultures. Out-of-body experiences can happen on this dose, where the user enters a DMT-like state. It's important to remember that most people are getting their tabs from an unverified source, so their tabs could be misdosed. This means that people who take a 10 strip or 10 tabs of acid are actually consuming about 700 micrograms or 70 micrograms per tab. Unlike lower doses, the user will experience effects as soon as 30 minutes of consumption. Tracers will be much more extreme and will practically obstruct the vision. A plethora of colors and auras will surround every place you look, so you will most likely be seated during the experience. 1000 ug. This is probably the highest non-fatal dose when tripping. When you take 1000 micrograms of LSD you practically lose control of your mind. Your thoughts will race unimaginably, and as frightening as this may seem, once you lose control the fear leaves as well. Your view is completely encapsulated with visuals to the point where reality cannot be seen anymore. This dose is equivalent to 24 grams of magic mushrooms, and at the peak of the experience it can produce effects similar to 50 milligrams of DMT. I say this because when taking such a high dose, you can encounter entities formed from your consciousness. Many things that would appear unexplainable can happen at this dose, so it is best not to be taken lightly. When taking a lower dosage of LSD, you can expect to have a recreational experience that can be enjoyed with other people. You most likely won't be feeling uncomfortable during the experience, but with higher doses you're much more prone to have a bad trip. This is not a bad thing, however, as bad trips are beneficial as they shed light to issues that someone may be hiding from themselves. Doses higher than 300 micrograms should be enjoyed alone and with mental preparation for the intense experience. This will greatly lower someone's risk of having a bad trip because they were not overwhelmed. Thanks for watching my video and happy tripping.